Hey, the next story we're going to talk about too. I mean, one of them's an appropriate big story. One of them shouldn't be a story at all. But two of the biggest news stories of the weekend in the world were both had an element to or completely based in dis and misinformation. We're not going to talk about the first one because it deserves to be the biggest story because young children were stabbed in the UK. It is absolutely warranting massive worldwide news. The dis and misinformation is the protests in the street from a certain sector of the UK about taking our streets back, etc., were based around the disinformation that the offender was said to be a migrant or an illegal migrant, which is not the case. The person they've arrested, the 17-year-old they're arrested, is not a migrant to the country or an illegal migrant to the country. So there's a huge amount of the heat in that conversation that's come from dis and misinformation. The other one, of course, is the conversation around the Olympic boxing. Imane Khelif and the Olympic boxer. This is a journalist from CBC News did quite a good summary of it. I actually spoke to him on email today. We're going to try and get him on. We might get him on tomorrow. Not because he's the expert in this, it's that he's been a good source of information. Misinformation persists online after super brief Olympic boxing bout. I'll just read you a couple of paragraphs from, I think it's Brock, isn't it? Brock Wilson. Within hours of her victory, that's Imane Khelif, over Italy's Angela Carini, unfounded claims that Algerian Olympic boxer Imane Khelif is actually a man or biological male swirled online, amplified by the likes of Elon Musk, J.K. Rowling, Logan Paul, and Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, there's some pretty big names there when it comes to a following, you know. It started when the fight stopped after just 46 seconds with a punch to Carini's nose. The extremely brief bout plus Carini's refusal to shake hands with her fellow welterweight afterwards fueled speculation they had not been fairly matched. It was, quote, the purest form of evil, end quote, wrote Logan Paul, a noted and notorious influencer, perhaps best known for tasing dead animals and being temporarily suspended by YouTube after posting video in a forest in Japan near what seemed to be a dead body. Not what seemed to be, which were a dead body. Who seemed to think the Olympics had just showcased a man beating up a woman. Paul has since deleted that post. Neither Khelif nor Lin is there. There's another boxer as well, Taiwan Lin Yu Ting. And funnily enough, there's not much of attack on Lin, not like on Imane. There just doesn't seem to be. It's always kind of a and the other one, and the other one. She's always and the other one. So neither Khelif nor Lin identify as transgender or as having been born with a male body, according to a fact check from GLAAD. There is no indication Khelif has ever identified as transgender or as intersex, nor is there any evidence to support the online speculation that Khelif has experienced different in sex development, DSD, a group of rare conditions that caused women to have XY chromosomes and blood testosterone levels in the male range. The allegations against Khelif were frequently framed as a call to protect the integrity of women's sport and, by extension, the women themselves. But that's an inauthentic argument, according to Michelle Donnelly, an associate professor of sports management and agenda issues research at Brock University. She sees it as an excuse to push a transphobic agenda. It's so obviously not about women's sport at all. It's about really forwarding a trans-exclusionary, transphobic agenda. If people were truly interested in fairness in women's sport, they would be advocating for more media coverage, more resources invested in women's sport, more opportunities. TVNZ Chewy actually did a pretty good write-up about it as well. And I'll just read you one part from here because we're going to talk about the IBA, I think it is, in the Russian Federation, that was since banned, right? And they are the people who have said to have done the test where she was banned for gender complications. This is on TVNZ. In 2023, a boxing competition held in Russia and run by the International Boxing Association questioned the gender identity of Khelif and of Taiwan's Lin Yu Ting, who is also currently competing at the Paris Olympics. The IBA president, Imane Khelif of Russia, was quoted as saying the two athletes had XY chromosomes and thus were subsequently disqualified. Elsewhere, it was stated that the athletes presented with elevated levels of testosterone, although No one tested them for that. The facts are yet to be confirmed, and it's not the role of an international sports organisation to be handing out personal and private information upon request from, this is the important bit, upon request from the athletes, so the people in question themselves, upon their request, the IBA refused to provide evidence of the tests undertaken. So they wouldn't even provide the evidence, not breaching confidentiality, to the people themselves. I've got plenty of little things to get around here to do with my Twitter weekend, Chewy, and some other bits and bobs as well. But you have it at first, sir.
It's funny how the IBA, who were the chairperson of the IBA at that point, the main official was Russian. They had a problem with this boxer after she defeated a Russian competitor, and then suddenly, so it's just bullshit. Like, if there's anything that can be said about biology, people want to put everybody in a box. It's funny that, right? It's the same with gender. It's the same. Now we're talking about chromosomes. Now we're talking about, all of these things. People have got to fit in a box. If there's one thing to take away that we're learning, is everything's on a spectrum, right? I've seen comments from people there that with the greatest of confidence, men only have testosterone, women only have estrogen. That's not true. Like, I saw a very funny comment that Joe Rogan often comments that he has testosterone supplements because he has low testosterone.
TRT.
Yeah. By his reckoning, then he's a biological woman.
I think he's a 55-year-old man who's losing testosterone, as we all do. Yeah. So he's taking supplements.
It just happens. Like, and I think if you looked at a baseline level, if there is a baseline level for women's testosterone levels, and you go to a competitive athlete at the Olympics, I guarantee you their testosterone's going to be higher. It's not, they want, these people are complaining. They're complaining that this woman doesn't fit in the woman box.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, Joey. And this is the danger with it, because what it is it's telling the world this person doesn't fit our vision of what a woman should be. And what this actually indicates is how women who don't fit that person's stereotype of woman are somewhat in danger by these conversations, because what they're saying is, if you look a certain way, you're not a woman. Quote, you're not a real woman if you look a certain way.
Doesn't that sound familiar? We've heard these comments before when women don't fit in the nice little neat box that people want to put them in.
Yep.
And it's funny now that people that are going against trans people, women that are going against trans people, are using this definition that we just want to protect women. But if they go down this track, the allies that they're going to build will try and stuff them back into the boxes that they think they belong in.
Yeah.
And talking from a sporting point of view, if this boxer has elevated testosterone and it gives her some sort of advantage, and as we discussed at the top of the show, sure, she's won some matches. She's also lost a lot of matches. Then the Olympics is a celebration of a range of genetic freakery. If you look at, what's his name, Phelps, the American
Michael
swimmer,
Phelps. Yeah,
Michael Phelps. His body generates less lactic acid in his muscles than anybody else. That's why he's able to swim.
It's a biological anomaly. He has that gives him an advantage. A biological anomaly that gives him an advantage.
His lung capacity is higher than anybody else. His wingspan, the length of his arms is longer than standard. And he has double jointed ankles. The man was made in a lab for swimming. So if you're going to turn around and go, no, your lungs too big. Your muscles are freakish. You can't be good at swimming.
Yeah.
Then what are we doing? I saw a reel the other day of a woman going, I've just realized what an elite female athlete looks like. and then just goes through a slideshow of all the women, like a bunch of the women that are competing at the Olympics. So a top performing gymnast looks like a top performing shot putter or a power lifter or a long distance runner or a boxer. No, they don't fit in your little box. It's the
Yeah.
Olympics. Tell
Um,
Valerie Adams she's not a real woman.
yeah. God,
I dare.
she's walked past me before, and I've been like, "Holy crap, damn Val, you're a
I
machine."
would love it. Could you imagine if J.K. Rowling called out Valerie Adams? Valerie Adams would be walking around wearing J.K. Rowling as a fucking hat for months.
Here's another thing that I put on Twitter over the weekend, and Chris has just mentioned it in chat, so we'll put it out there. And one of the giveaways that this is a culture war thing for the right, is that so many people on the right were going on and on and on and on and on about this boxer, and none of them had mentioned the Dutch team having an actual convicted pedo competing, and yet there's not enough talk about it, though he did get booed. But if you have a look at some of the people making the most noise about this, this transgender woman, not that it's the case, very few comments, if anything, from all of these people on an actual danger to children. And that's what it comes back to, being this insidious thing. Okay, give me time for a few things, Joey. So here's a few things that have come in. Right, so here's one. I had some person coming in with this sort of conversation. You have to do some wicked mental gymnastics to arrive at the conclusion he was a biological woman at birth. For the rest of us who can see with our own eyes a man beating up a woman, it's pretty straightforward. Hope this helps. This is the whole thing. It looks like. So this is what I said. Well, if that's the case, how do you account for her boxing record? If this is, quote, a man beating up a woman, why does she have 9 losses from 52 matches? If this is a man beating up a woman, why is there no fuss made at the last Olympics where she was knocked out before the medal rounds? If this is a man beating up a woman, and in the light of the Italian saying she'd never been hit harder, why are only 6 of her bouts won by knockout? If this is a man beating up a woman, why does it seem that everyone spoken to about her early life says that she was a girl from birth? All seems very convenient that one can say these things. I'm still just looking for the evidence to back up the claim. And actually, truthfully, this is one of the things I am doing. It's like, show us the evidence. Because until you show us the evidence, it's a very strange flip that these conservatives have done. So imagine that Imane Khelif was actually XY. Imagine, got no proof of that, but imagine that she is, like everyone's saying, right? What they're actually saying, remember for the past 10 years, they've all been saying that you can't be born in the wrong body. So if she was XY, but she was born female, then she was born in the wrong body. So actually the conservatives are going against all those things they've been talking about for so long, because if she's chromosomally XY but she's female, then you could argue that those people have all got it wrong. And this, I think, Chewy, is one of the points that I landed on. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. What you're seeing is that, right? It's based on a sector of society that has preached sex as binary, right? So these guys that have preached sex as binary, pardon me, now have to fit this story into that conversation. So they only have 2 options. This is what they've said, and it's also a foundational part of their political beliefs. So when you present them, for example, with Swire syndrome, which has women with XY chromosomes, then all they can do is call those women men, as they've backed themselves into a corner to suit a narrative that's now trapped them in a place that if they say anything else, they're hypocrites. Swire syndrome, I'm not actually saying that this athlete has it. I have no clue. But they've backed themselves into a corner that is sex as binary, i.e. there's no other possible outcome. North American Intersex Society or Association, I think I've put it on the Twitter feed somewhere, says 1 in 1,666 people born are neither XY or XX. That's about 5 million people on the face of the planet that don't fit into XX female, XY male. So you can't say XY is male. Well, what's XXY? It doesn't fit that way, and you can't argue that way because there are other ones. This is one of my favorites. whoever this person is, I don't believe they're actually in New Zealand. I believe that they are, from watching their language and verbiage, I believe they're an international, possibly troll, because
Probably be
you pick
UK
up,
dude if
you know,
it's turf stuff.
well, you pick it up though. You pick up rather than like with a word without an S on the end that should have an S. It's written by an English as a second language person. Been going hard all weekend, putting up links to tell me to go check it out, and you put up a link and that page has disappeared. I wonder why that page has disappeared. Because it's wrong, perhaps? And then just to wrap this all up, my last bit of evidence for this just being an attack, no matter what the facts, are Kyle Rittenhouse, the man who's famous for shooting someone at a Black Lives Matter march. He came out over the weekend and he said he wasn't going to vote for Trump. As soon as he did that, there was a movement to claim that Kyle Rittenhouse was transgender. Like, without word of a lie. That was their attack. Kyle Rittenhouse is transgender. And this is one of the tweets they put out. He's a she after it came out. So it's used as an attack when you don't need evidence. You just say that's what it is. It's like woke. It's like PC. It doesn't fit. Oh, it's transgender. Just to finish up on that, ironically, funny enough, 24 hours, Kyle Rittenhouse came to the light and he's going to vote for Trump again now. So he saw the light and he turned himself all around. So, but Chewy, I think that idea about these guys have backed themselves into a corner, guys and girls, guys being everyone, where they say sex is binary. So they can't actually go outside that. Because if they go outside that, then they're acknowledging, okay, so sex is not binary. That means there is an other. And if there is an other, that means other might mean transgender, might mean whatever it is. So they've done themselves a disservice and now they can't have honest conversations about it. If it was shown to me evidence-wise, as in the research, rather than someone saying what the research said, right? That's all we're getting at the moment. Such and such said, such and such saw the research and said, right? So it's all two-step, it's hearsay. It was in a court of law. Then we can have that conversation. Now, we can have that conversation about XY at the Olympics, XY in women's sport. You can have that conversation, but at the moment, we're not even there. We're nowhere near it. In fact, all we are is a bunch of people going, sex is binary. I can't acknowledge anything else exists. If I do, my whole conversation falls over. Sure.
That happens when you build your argument in a series of boxes.
Yep.
As the moment something exists outside that box, you're fucked. The other thing of like accusing people, like this guy's changed his mind, that means he's transgender. No, he's still an awful shitty person. Like, like it doesn't come into his gender. But it's that same thing of like, calling people gay was the worst thing that you could do to people. But they can't do that now because there's tons of gay right-wing people. They're all insane. It's all leopards eating my face. But there are there. Grindr has shown us.
At the Republican convention. Is that where it showed us? Okay.
Yep, every time. Yeah, it's just horrible. Like I hate this for the trans people I follow because this weekend has been tough.
Yeah,
for them. They just want to exist, live their life just the same as trans people always have done. This isn't a new thing. Human biology isn't a binary. It never has been. We're just trying to shake off people's first pass at gender science and stuff like that. It just like I can't imagine, I'm not in that position, but it looks tiring steering on as an interested observer to actually be trans at the moment while this debate is going on.
Yeah.
It is just mind-blowing. I've seen people I follow withdraw from social media for a bit because it's just too much.
Yep.
And as I said at the top of the show, for this boxer that's concerned, it's illegal to be trans in Algeria.
Yeah.
Like this is putting her at risk.
I really hope someone has a crack legally against people like J.K. Rowling. I really honestly hope that someone does. I mean, what if And I got to say if, because I don't know, but I get the sense it is, if it is proven, if it is actually that this person is not transgender, is not quote unquote a man, then fucking those people are up for a libel suit, mate, or a defamation suit. I just really hope someone has a go at it. It will be brilliant.